AITA for laughing when my girlfriend announced our breakup at my birthday party? Hello, last weekend I turned 32, and it turned out to be the most entertaining disaster I've ever witnessed. My girlfriend of 3 years tried to make a dramatic exit by handing me annulment papers in front of all my friends and family. The problem was, we were never married. She had completely forgotten that the wedding never happened. The look on her face when she realized everyone was laughing at her instead of feeling sorry for her was priceless. Here's how it all went down. I'm a 32-year-old man living in Portland. I have a good salary and own a small house in a quiet neighborhood. I drive a reliable truck that's already paid off. It's a pretty standard, middle-class existence. I'm not flashy, but I live comfortably. My parents taught me the value of saving money and living within my means, which has served me pretty well. I met Nina, a 30-year-old woman, at a friend's wedding 3 years ago. She was a bridesmaid. I was a groomsman, and we connected during the reception. She worked in event planning, always looked impeccable, and had a contagious energy that drew people in. We started dating, and for the first year, things seemed solid enough for me to ignore the red flags. The problem started subtly. About 6 months in, she moved into my house, temporarily, while her lease was ending. That temporary situation became permanent without us ever really discussing it. She contributed to the bills sporadically. She always had an excuse when it was time to pay rent, but I figured we were building a life together, so I didn't push it. Looking back, that was mistake number one. Nina had expensive tastes, designer bags, frequent spa days, always buying new clothes even though her closet was already full. She worked in event planning, but her income was unstable. There were good months and terrible months. During the terrible months, guess who covered everything? I started to notice my savings weren't growing like they used to. My carefully planned retirement contributions got smaller while her expenses got bigger. My best friend, Matthew, had concerns early on. He's a contractor, my buddy since college. He's a straight shooter, tells it like it is. After Nina moved in, he pulled me aside at a Sunday barbecue. Bro, she's been here for 6 months. Has she even paid rent once? She contributes in other ways, I said, knowing how pathetic it sounded. What? By spending your money at Nordstrom? He shook his head. I'm just saying, keep your eyes open. My cousin went through the same thing. It ended badly. I ignored him because that's what people do when they're being stupid in a relationship. The signs were there, glowing like construction barricades, but I drove right past them, thinking I knew better. 18 months into the relationship, Nina started dropping heavy hints about marriage. We'd be watching TV and a wedding commercial would come on, and she'd sigh dramatically. Wouldn't it be nice to have a day that's all about us? Or we'd be at dinner and she'd accidentally bring up venues and guest lists. Her Pinterest was filled with nothing but wedding stuff. I saw it once when she left her laptop open. I eventually proposed, not because I was ready, but because she made it clear that's where we were headed. I bought a ring, not as expensive as she surely wanted, but decent, and did the whole down-on-one-knee thing at a fancy downtown restaurant. She said yes, posted 17 Instagram stories within the hour, and immediately dove into planning. The planning was a nightmare from day one. Nina wanted everything to be perfect, which apparently meant expensive. The venue was $8,000 just to rent the space. The photographer, $3,500. The flowers, $2,000. The dress she wanted was $4,000. Every time I suggested something more affordable, she'd get upset and say I didn't care about our special day or that I wanted to be cheap on the most important day of her life. My parents, who were helping financially, started voicing concerns 2 months into the planning. My dad pulled me aside after a particularly tense family dinner where Nina had complained about my mom's cost-cutting suggestions. Son, are you sure about this? Your mother and I have been talking, and we're worried. About what? About everything. The way she talks to people, how she reacts when she doesn't get her way, the spending. We're worried you're not seeing the full picture. I should have listened. Instead, I defended Nina, said everything was fine, and that wedding planning is stressful for everyone. Classic mistake number 2. 3 weeks before the scheduled wedding, Nina and I had a massive fight over the guest list. She wanted to invite 200 people, many of whom I didn't know. I wanted to keep it under 100 to manage costs and keep it intimate. She exploded when I suggested cutting a few coworkers and distant relatives. You're trying to control everything, she screamed. This is my day, and you're ruining it with your stupid budget concerns. It's our day, Nina, and someone has to think about the money, because you clearly aren't. Maybe if you made more money, we wouldn't have to worry about budgets. That one stung. I made good money, more than enough for a comfortable life, but it was never enough for Nina's champagne dreams. Maybe we should postpone it, I said, finally saying out loud what I'd been thinking for weeks. Take some time to clear our heads. Make sure we're ready for this. Her face went white, then red. Postpone. Are you serious? I just think we're rushing. We haven't even been together 2 years. Maybe we should wait. Make sure we're aligned on finances and expectations. That's when she really lost it. She accused me of leading her on, of wasting her time, of being a commitment phobe like all the other millennial men who can't grow up. The fight lasted for hours and ended with her storming out to stay at her friend Jasmine's place. The next day, she came back calmer. We sat at the kitchen table with coffee, and she seemed genuinely thoughtful. I've been thinking about what you said last night. Maybe you're right. Maybe we should postpone the wedding and focus on our relationship first. Make sure we're solid before taking that step. I felt a wave of relief. We called the vendors over the next few days. We canceled the venue. We lost a few deposits, but we saved thousands overall. Her parents were furious. They had already bought plane tickets from Arizona and booked hotels for relatives. But I felt like we had dodged a bullet, that we had given ourselves space to build something real. But here's the kicker. Nina never actually canceled anything. She just told me she did. She kept the venue on hold, telling them we were figuring out logistics. Same story for the caterer. She told the photographer we had moved the date, but didn't specify when. She wanted the wedding to happen on the original date, but I had made it clear I wasn't ready. So, in her mind, she would find a way to convince me later, to push me toward the commitment before the day arrived. Except she forgot one crucial detail. We never rescheduled anything. The original date passed 3 weeks later without another mention. No new date was set. No new plans were made. In the eyes of the law and any official record, we were just boyfriend and girlfriend. There was no marriage license, no ceremony, no legal union of any kind. But in Nina's mind, and apparently on her social media, we were married. She started referring to me as her husband to people we met. She changed her social media status to married. She started wearing her engagement ring on her left ring finger as if it were a wedding band. When people would congratulate us on getting married, she would smile and thank them, never correcting their assumption. I noticed, but at first, I didn't think much of it. I figured she was just excited about the future or living in a fantasy where we had already taken that step. Matthew noticed, though, and he had no problem calling it out. Bro, your girlfriend introduced herself as your wife to my cousin at the hardware store yesterday. She's probably just practicing or something. You know how she is. Practicing for what? That's weird, man. That's legit concerning behavior. Yeah, it was weird, but I was stuck in that comfortable inertia where it's easier to ignore problems than to confront them. Nina was living in my house, sleeping in my bed, spending my money. Ending it seemed too complicated, too much drama, too much chaos, when I could just float along and deal with it later. Over the next year and a half, things got progressively worse. Nina became more and more demanding about our lifestyle. She expected me to take her on expensive vacations we couldn't afford. She'd get angry when I suggested camping instead of resorts. She'd book spa days and leave me with the $400 bill. When I tried to talk about budgeting or financial planning, she'd accuse me of being controlling or not trusting her. The breaking point came about 6 months before my birthday, when I discovered she had maxed out a credit card I didn't know she had, but which she had linked to my bank account for automatic payments. $8,000 in charges I knew nothing about. Designer bags, jewelry, expensive dinners with her friends while I was working overtime. When I confronted her, she acted like I was overreacting, like I was the crazy one for being upset about $8,000. We're married, Lucas. What's yours is mine. That's how marriage works. Why are you being weird about this? Nina, we're not married. We never had the wedding, remember? We postponed it 2 years ago. She waved her hand dismissively, as if I were being picky. Details. We're basically married. We live together. We have a life together. It's the same thing. You're being controlling. My therapist says financial control is a form of abuse. Your therapist, who I pay for, because you can't afford your own insurance? The fight escalated until she stormed out again. This time she was gone for 3 days, posting sad quotes on social media about when the person you love doesn't value you and knowing your own worth. Matthew came over that week with pizza and beer. We sat in the living room, and he didn't mince words. Bro, you have to end this. She's delusional. She's living in a fantasy world where you're married when you're not, and she's draining you financially. This is only going to get worse. I know. I'm just trying to figure out how to do it without it turning into World War III. How about, Nina, this isn't working. Please move out. Pretty simple. He was right, but I'm a coward when it comes to confrontation. Conflict avoidance is probably my biggest flaw. So I kept putting it off, telling myself I'd do it after my birthday, after the holidays, after whatever arbitrary date I made up. The birthday party wasn't my idea. Matthew planned it as a surprise, or at least he tried to keep it a secret. He rented out the back room of my favorite brewery downtown, invited about 40 people, including my parents and coworkers, and somehow managed to keep it mostly under wraps. I found out 2 days before when my mom called to confirm if she should bring the German chocolate cake she makes for every birthday. Thanks for ruining the surprise, Mom. Oh, honey, you know I can't keep a secret. Besides, Matthew told me you probably already knew. Thanks, Matthew. I texted him. Real stealthy operation you've got there. Shut up and act surprised on Saturday. Your mom's making that cake you love. The party was on Saturday at 6 p.m. I walked in, unsuspecting, to find all my friends and family there, decorations up, and a table full of my favorite snacks. Nina had been acting weird all day, jittery, on edge, constantly checking her phone, changing her outfit 3 times. I assumed she was just stressed about the party or worried people wouldn't like her outfit or something equally trivial. The first hour was great. Good beer, good friends, everyone having a good time. My parents brought my favorite German chocolate cake, my mom's recipe since I was a kid. Matthew gave a speech about how I was getting old, my back was probably going out, and I should invest in a good recliner and some reading glasses. A typical best friend roast. That's when Nina tapped her glass with a spoon and called for everyone's attention. The room went quiet almost instantly. She was standing near the center, flushed, determined, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my monthly utilities. Something about her energy set off all my internal alarms. That tight smile, the nervous fidgeting, the way she was clutching her purse. Everyone, I have an announcement to make, she began, her voice trembling slightly but laced with resolve. Lucas's birthday seems like the perfect time for this. What better gift to give someone than honesty and freedom? Oh no. Oh hell no. I've been doing a lot of thinking about our relationship, about what I need, what I deserve, and where my life is going. She paused dramatically, like she was delivering a monologue in a play. People were starting to look uncomfortable. This was not typical birthday party banter. My mom's smile froze. My dad's brow furrowed. Matthew looked like he wanted to intervene, but didn't know how without making it worse. Lucas is a good man, she continued. Stable, dependable, responsible. The way she said those words made them sound like diseases, like flaws instead of virtues. But I've come to realize that I need more than stability. I need passion, excitement, adventure. I need someone who can keep up with me and my lifestyle. Someone who understands what I deserve out of life. My mom's face was getting red. Matthew looked like he was physically restraining himself from saying something. Several people in the crowd were exchanging confused glances. So, Lucas, I'm giving you the greatest gift anyone can give. Freedom. She pulled a manila envelope from her designer purse with a dramatic flourish worthy of a soap opera. I want a divorce. I'm done with this relationship. We're over. She threw the envelope at me. It hit my chest with a soft thud and fluttered to the floor at my feet. The room was dead silent. Everyone was looking at her, then me, then back at her. Some looked confused, others horrified. A few were clearly trying not to laugh at the sheer absurdity of the moment. I picked up the envelope slowly, opened it carefully, and pulled out the papers. I scanned the first page, then the second, then I started reading more closely, and I started to laugh. I couldn't help it. It started as a chuckle and built into hysterical laughter I couldn't control, even as Nina's confident expression began to crack. What's so funny? She demanded, her voice rising. I'm trying to have a serious moment here. I held up the papers, still laughing. These are annulment papers. Yes, I know. I'm annulling our marriage. That's what I just said. Nina. I could barely speak through my laughter, wiping tears from my eyes. We're not married. Her face went blank, like her brain had blue screened. What? We're not married. We never got married. We postponed the wedding 2 years ago, remember? And we never rescheduled it. There's no marriage to annul. You could have heard a pin drop. Everyone was processing what I had just said, the absurdity of the situation slowly dawning on them. Oh. Then Matthew started laughing. A deep, genuine, belly laugh. Then my dad joined in. Then more people, until the entire room was roaring at what had just happened. Nina's face cycled through several colors. White, red, purple, back to white. That's not. We had a wedding. No, we didn't. We planned one. Then we postponed it. Then we never rescheduled it. At no point did we ever get married. Nina, you filed annulment papers for a marriage that doesn't exist? Matthew wheezed between laughs. Did you consult your lawyer before you filed that? Or did you just assume you were married? She shrieked, her voice cracking. Everyone knows we're married. I told everyone we're married. My family thinks we're married. Telling people doesn't make it legal. Honey, Matthew commented, wiping his eyes. There's this thing called a marriage license. You really need one of those. It's pretty important. My mom, God bless her savage heart, couldn't resist adding. Nina, dear, did you forget your own non-wedding? That's a pretty big detail to overlook. People were pulling out their phones, probably texting others or recording. This was social media gold, the kind of content that goes viral instantly. Nina's friend, Jasmine, tried to save her. Guys, this isn't funny. She's trying to make a statement. Show some respect. A statement, my dad shouted, clearly enjoying himself. She's trying to divorce a man she's not married to. That's not a statement. That's a comedy sketch. This is the funniest thing I've seen in years. Nina grabbed my arm desperately, her manicured nails digging in. Stop laughing. This isn't a joke. I'm trying to end our relationship. Then just break up with me like a normal person, I said, still chuckling. Why file fake legal documents? Why pay a lawyer to draft papers for a marriage that doesn't exist? They're not fake. My lawyer drew them up. I paid him $1,000 for these papers. Matthew nearly choked on his beer. You paid $1,000 for annulment papers without mentioning you never got married? Bro, I hope he gave you a receipt, because that's either malpractice or fraud. That lawyer saw you coming a mile away. Someone in the crowd yelled, "Best birthday party ever," and everyone cheered. Nina looked around desperately, realizing her big dramatic moment had completely imploded and she had become the night's punchline, not the righteous protagonist. I proposed, yes. Then we postponed it because I had second thoughts. Then we never rescheduled it. At no point did we get married. Nina, how did you forget that? How do you forget something that's significant? I didn't forget. Everyone thought we were. She was spiraling, trying desperately to find solid ground in an argument that didn't exist. Everyone thought what you told them, I said, my laughter finally subsiding to choked giggles. You've been telling people for 2 years that we're married, calling yourself my wife, acting like we had a wedding, changing your social media status to married. But we're not. And now you're trying to make a big dramatic gesture based on a wedding that never happened. She snatched the papers from my hand and stared at them as if they might magically transform into something that made sense. This can't be happening. This was supposed to be my moment. I was supposed to walk out of here with my dignity while everyone felt sorry for me. Oh, it's your moment. All right, Matthew assured her with a massive grin. It's definitely a moment you'll remember. We'll all remember it. This is legendary. Jasmine tried to defend her one more time. Can you all just stop laughing? Nina is trying to end a relationship here. Have some compassion. With paperwork, someone yelled from the back. The wrong paperwork. That set off another round of laughter that echoed through the brewery's back room. Even a few people who had come as Nina's guests were smirking or covering their mouths to hide their amusement. My mom came over and patted me on the shoulder. Honey, I think your girlfriend, sorry, non-wife, might need a moment to herself. Perhaps somewhere else. Probably not at your birthday party, I added. Nina's eyes went wide, genuine shock replacing her confident facade. You're kicking me out? On your birthday? Well, you just very publicly tried to divorce me from a marriage we're not in. It seems like you wanted to leave anyway. I'm just honoring your wishes. I wanted to make a statement about how you're not enough for me, how I deserve better. Statement accomplished, Matthew said, raising his beer ceremoniously. We definitely got that message loud and clear. And we also got the message that you're terrible with paperwork and don't understand how marriage works, my coworker added, prompting another wave of laughter. And possibly that you're not very good with reality in general, someone else chimed in. Nina looked around one more time, seeing nothing but amused faces and raised glasses. Her dramatic exit had turned into a blooper reel. Her serious moment had become comedy gold. I hate all of you, she announced, grabbing her expensive purse with trembling hands. Cheers to that, my dad yelled enthusiastically, and everyone raised their glasses in a sarcastic toast. Nina stormed out the door with Jasmine trailing behind her, mouthing apologies to people and shooting daggers at the crowd. The door slammed shut with a satisfying thud, and the room erupted into applause and laughter again. Matthew came over and clapped me on the shoulder. Bro, best birthday gift ever. Couldn't have planned that if I tried. I didn't have to plan it. She did all the work herself. My mom hugged me tight. I never did like her. She was rude to waiters. You could have told me that, Mom. We tried. You said we didn't understand her, that she was just particular about things. My dad joined us, grinning from ear to ear. Son, I've seen a lot of breakups in my 60 years. That one easily makes the top 5, maybe top 3. The look on her face when you started laughing, priceless. The rest of the party was incredible. Everyone wanted to hear the full story, how the wedding was postponed, how Nina pretended we were married for 2 years, all the red flags I ignored. I told it all as people kept buying me drinks and sharing their own dating disaster stories. Around midnight, someone made a toast. To Lucas, who just got divorced from a marriage that never existed. May his next relationship involve actual legal documents and someone with a grip on reality. We all cheered to that. My hangover the next day was going to be brutal, but it was totally worth it. Near midnight, as the party was winding down, my phone started blowing up with texts from Nina. You humiliated me on purpose in front of everyone. You could have pulled me aside and told me privately. Everyone is laughing at me on social media. Jasmine says the video is everywhere. You're going to pay for this. I'm suing you for emotional distress. Matthew read them over my shoulder and let out a bark of laughter. Pay for what? The non-divorce lawyer fees? Sue you for laughing at her fake divorce papers. I blocked her and went back to celebrating with people who actually understood reality. The next morning, nursing my hangover with coffee and aspirin, I found my phone full of messages from mutual friends. Apparently, Nina had spent the entire night posting on social media about how I had betrayed her and made her look like a fool in front of everyone. She was painting herself as a victim of public humiliation, conveniently leaving out the part where she served me fake annulment papers. The general response from people was, "You made yourself look like a fool by serving annulment papers for a marriage that doesn't exist." Matthew texted me, "Bro, you're famous." The video of her throwing the papers is all over TikTok. Fake divorce is trending in Portland. You're a local celebrity. Sure enough, someone had recorded the whole thing and posted it. It already had hundreds of thousands of views. The comments were shredding Nina. Imagine being so dramatic you forget you're not married. This is what happens when you live in your own fantasy world. The real cringe is paying a lawyer for fake divorce papers. Her, I want a divorce. Him, from what? The guy's laugh is the best part. Pure confusion and amusement. On Monday, I took a personal day to start the process of actually ending the relationship. I called a locksmith first thing and had the locks on my house changed. It cost about $300, but every penny was worth it. Then I sent Nina a text. You have until Friday at 5 p.m. to get your things. After that, your stuff is going to Goodwill. Do not try to come over without scheduling a time first. The locks have been changed. She called immediately. I didn't answer. She texted seconds later. We need to talk about this like adults. You can't just kick me out. I replied, adults don't serve fake divorce papers at birthday parties. Your thing's on Friday. That's it. Schedule a time with Matthew if you want to pick them up. I'm not going through Matthew. I'll come over when I want. No, you won't. The locks are changed. If you show up unannounced, I will call the police for trespassing. Matthew helped me pack up everything that week. We spent Tuesday and Wednesday nights going through the house, boxing up her clothes, shoes, accessories, toiletries, everything. We found designer bags worth thousands, shoes she'd never worn still in their boxes, jewelry still in its packaging. All of it bought with money that was supposed to go toward our future. She has expensive taste for someone with no money, Matthew observed, holding up a purse that probably cost a month's rent. That's because it was my money funding those tastes, I pointed out. You're better off without her, man. So much better. On Wednesday night, Nina showed up with her mom and Jasmine to get her stuff. I had put all the boxes in the garage, easy to load up and leave. I gave Matthew a heads up, and he parked nearby in case things got out of hand. I didn't even go out to talk to them. I just watched from the window as they loaded box after box into a U-Haul. Her mom kept glaring at my house like she wanted to pound on the door and give me a lecture, but Jasmine hurried her along. Good. I had nothing to say to them. On Thursday morning, I was served with actual legal papers at my job. This time, it wasn't annulment papers. It was a summons to small claims court. Nina was suing me for financial damages related to the wedding we postponed 2 years ago. She wanted compensation for the lost deposits, for the emotional distress of planning a wedding that never happened, for time invested in the relationship, and for public humiliation at my birthday party. I called Matthew immediately. She's suing me. For what? Wedding deposits from 2 years ago, emotional distress, time invested, and public humiliation. That's not a thing. You can't sue someone for dating them, and you can't sue someone for laughing at fake divorce papers. Apparently, her lawyer thinks you can, or she found a lawyer desperate enough. The court date was set for 2 months later. I hired my own lawyer, an older guy named Robert who had been in family law for 30 years and had seen it all. When I showed him the lawsuit and explained the party, he actually laughed out loud in his office. Son, this is the most frivolous thing I've seen in 10 years. She has no case for any of this. She's just angry and lashing out. She can't claim common law marriage or something. Argue we were basically married? Oregon doesn't recognize common law marriage. You need an actual marriage license, an actual ceremony, official state documents, none of which exist in your case. So we're good. Better than good. I'm going to file for sanctions for filing a frivolous lawsuit. She might end up owing you money for wasting the court's time and your legal fees. The court date arrived 2 months later. Nina showed up with a different lawyer. Apparently, the first one dropped the case when he realized how ridiculous it was after doing a little research. The new one looked like he was fresh out of law school and needed any case he could get to pay off his student loans. The judge was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s named Judge Harrison, who had clearly seen every kind of relationship drama. She read the lawsuit with growing skepticism, reviewed the evidence we submitted, and addressed Nina's baby-faced lawyer. Counselor, your client is suing for damages related to a wedding that was mutually postponed 2 years ago. Yes, Your Honor. The emotional and financial damages were significant and ongoing. And she is also seeking compensation for time invested in the relationship. Yes, Your Honor. 3 years of her life. The judge peered at him over her glasses. That is not a cause of action. You cannot bill someone for dating them. That is not how relationships or the legal system work. Your Honor, my client was led to believe. The plaintiff served non-existent annulment papers, made a public spectacle at the defendant's party, and is now wasting this court's time with a frivolous lawsuit. Case dismissed. She banged her gavel firmly. Mr. Davis, your counsel filed a motion for sanctions. Given the completely frivolous nature of this lawsuit and the waste of judicial resources, I am granting it. Ms. Jones is ordered to pay Mr. Davis $3,000 in legal fees within 90 days. Next case. Nina's face went completely white. Her lawyer looked like he wanted to sink into the floor and disappear. Outside the courtroom, Robert shook my hand. Easiest case I've had all year. She'll probably appeal, but she won't win. The ruling is solid. Matthew was waiting for me in the hall, grinning like it was Christmas. How'd it go? She has to pay my legal fees. $3,000. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I'm buying you lunch to celebrate. We went to my favorite burger joint downtown. Matthew was already planning the story he'd tell at the next poker night, exaggerating the details of Nina's face in court. You know the best part? He said between bites of his bacon cheeseburger. The birthday party will forever be the best part of this story. I agreed. Totally. That video is going to live on the internet forever. Your grandkids will probably see it someday. He wasn't wrong. People I hadn't spoken to in years started reaching out to say they'd seen the video. Old college friends, distant relatives, former coworkers. Even my high school chemistry teacher sent me a message on Facebook saying, "You dodged a bullet there, Lucas." The house felt fundamentally different without Nina's chaos filling it up, quieter, cleaner, more peaceful. I could walk around in my boxers without her complaining that I wasn't presentable. I could eat cereal for dinner without getting a lecture on proper nutrition and meal planning. I could watch whatever I wanted on TV without having to negotiate or sit through another reality show about rich people's problems. My parents came over for dinner a week after the court case. My mom brought her famous lasagna with extra cheese, just like I always asked for as a kid, and we sat at the kitchen table like we used to before Nina inserted herself into every family gathering. "You look lighter," my mom said, studying my face. "More relaxed." I am lighter. About 130 pounds lighter, plus the emotional weight of that relationship. My dad let out a laugh. "That's about what she weighed, wasn't it? Plus the emotional weight of dealing with constant drama and financial stress." "We're proud of you," my mom said seriously, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. "For finally standing up for yourself. For not letting her manipulate you anymore. For recognizing your own worth. I should have done it sooner. I should have listened to you both." "Better late than never," my dad said, raising his beer. "To freedom and second chances." "To freedom," I repeated, clinking my bottle against his. 6 months later, I am genuinely happy for the first time in years. I started dating someone new, Samantha, a structural engineer I met through work on a bridge project. She's smart, funny, and pays her own bills. She has her own car and apartment, and most importantly, she doesn't pretend we're married when we're not. Matthew adores her. She's normal. It's so refreshing. She laughs at my jokes and doesn't spend the whole dinner on her phone. My parents love her too. She asked about the house's foundation and the roof repairs, my dad told me. No one's ever asked about those things before. She actually cares about practical matters. Samantha knows the whole story about Nina and the fake annulment papers. Her response when I told her, "That is the most delusional thing I have ever heard. Who forgets they aren't married? How does that even happen?" Through the grapevine, I heard that Nina moved back in with her parents after the court case. The $3,000 she owed me took her 6 months of installment payments to pay off. She deleted most of her social media after the video kept resurfacing every few weeks. The last I heard, she was dating some guy who owns a car dealership. She probably found her next sponsor to fund her lifestyle. Comment. Looking back, that chaotic birthday party wasn't just a disaster. It was the wake-up call I desperately needed. For a long time, I chose comfort over my own intuition, ignoring all the signs because confrontation felt harder. But sometimes, life has to shake you awake in the most dramatic way possible to remind you of your own worth. So, if you're facing a tough situation, remember that there can be peace on the other side of the chaos and a chance to truly start over. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.